Captain Sarah Chun stood motionless in the cargo bay of the merchant vessel Harmony's Edge, her hands raised slightly above her head in what the Vorthak boarding party interpreted as surrender. The alien creatures towered over her diminutive 5'4" frame, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming under the ship's emergency lighting. Each Vorthak stood nearly 8 feet tall, with razor-sharp mandibles that clicked menacingly as they communicated in their harsh, guttural language. The laid Vorthak, distinguished by elaborate bone spikes protruding from his carapace, stepped forward with predatory confidence. His species had dominated this sector of the galaxy for 3 centuries, building their empire on the fear they instilled in other races. They called themselves the Great Harvesters, and every intelligent species in known space had learned to submit when Vorthak ships appeared on their sensors. "Human," the leader hissed in broken galactic standard, his vocal cords struggling with the unfamiliar sounds. "You will surrender all cargo manifests and submit to Vorthak authority. Your species is new to these trade routes. You have not yet learned proper respect." Sarah's crew of 12 stood behind her, their faces pale with terror. The Harmony's Edge was humanity's first official merchant vessel to venture into the Outer Rim territories, part of Earth's careful expansion into galactic commerce. The ship carried medical supplies, technological components, and cultural artifacts intended for trade with the peaceful Zalani Federation. Nothing about their mission suggested they were prepared for combat. "I understand your position," Sarah replied calmly, her voice carrying no trace of fear despite the overwhelming odds. "However, I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding about human nature." The Vorthak leader's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Behind him, 6 more warriors spread out in a tactical formation, their plasma rifles trained on the human crew. Each weapon could vaporize a human in seconds, and the Vorthak knew it. They had perfected the art of intimidation through superior firepower and physical dominance. "Misunderstanding?" the leader repeated, his words dripping with contempt. "Small human, your species registers as prey on our biological scanners? Your muscle density is pathetic. Your bone structure is weak. Your reaction time is slower than a Vorthak hatchling. What misunderstanding could there possibly be?" Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile, though her hands remained raised. "The misunderstanding is that you think I was surrendering. I was simply stretching my arms." Before the words fully registered with the Vorthak warriors, Sarah moved. Her right hand dropped to her hip in a motion so fluid and practiced that it seemed almost casual. The plasma pistol cleared its holster in 0.3 seconds, faster than any Vorthak nervous system could process. Her first shot took the leader center mass, the superheated energy bolt punching through his exoskeleton like paper. The second and third shots followed in rapid succession, each finding their mark before the remaining Vorthak could even begin to raise their weapons. Sarah's movements were economical, precise, deadly. She pivoted on her left foot, using her smaller stature to present a minimal target, while her right arm tracked from one enemy to the next with mechanical precision. The fourth Vorthak managed to squeeze his rifle's firing stud, but the shot went wide as Sarah's return fire caught him in the thorax. Chitinous armor fragments scattered across the cargo bay floor as the alien warrior collapsed. The remaining 3 Vorthak, finally understanding they were in mortal danger, attempted to take cover behind shipping containers. This proved to be a tactical error. Sarah holstered her sidearm and reached for the modified assault rifle mag-locked to her back. The weapon had been disguised as a structural support beam on her environment suit, invisible to the Vorthak's casual inspection. She brought it to bear with the same fluid motion she had used with the pistol, and the cargo bay erupted in controlled violence. The rifle fired caseless ammunition at 3,000 rounds per minute, each bullet designed specifically for penetrating alien armor. The Vorthak's hiding spots became death traps as Sarah systematically eliminated their cover with short, precise bursts. Her training as a former Earth Defense Force sniper served her well in the confined space, allowing her to calculate angles and ricochet patterns with deadly accuracy. The 5th Vorthak attempted to flank her position, using his species' natural agility to leap between containers. Sarah tracked his movement with inhuman patience, waiting until he committed to his trajectory before firing a 3-round burst that caught him mid-air. The alien's momentum carried his body into a bulkhead with a sickening impact. The sixth warrior, realizing the futility of conventional tactics, activated a personal shield generator and charged directly at Sarah with his ceremonial combat blade extended. The energy field around his body deflected her initial shots, sparks flying as the bullets disintegrated against the barrier. Sarah calmly switched to armor-piercing rounds and adjusted her targeting. Instead of aiming for center mass, she put 2 rounds through the warrior's left knee joint, where the shield coverage was weakest. The Vortex stumbled, his shield flickering as power was diverted to compensate for the damage. Sarah's follow-up shot punched through his skull, just above the mandibles. The final Vorthak had reached his breaking point. The supposedly inferior human had eliminated 6 of his squad mates in less than 30 seconds. Moving with a speed and precision that defied everything his species knew about prey animals. Dropping his weapon, he activated his emergency beacon and attempted to flee toward the airlock. Sarah's rifle tracked him smoothly, but she didn't fire immediately. Instead, she called out in perfect Vorthak military cant, "Warrior Kreshtak, stand down. You will carry a message to your fleet commander." The fleeing alien stumbled to a halt, his entire body trembling with shock. Not only had this human learned his personal name from his armor markings, but she spoke his language with the formal precision of a military academy graduate. Fear pheromones flooded his system as the full implications hit him. "Tell Commander Vorthash that humanity claims right of passage through this sector under the Galactic Commerce Protocols," Sarah continued, lowering her weapon but keeping it ready. "Inform him that any future interference with human vessels will be considered an act of war." The surviving Vorthak warrior's mandibles chattered uncontrollably. You cannot be prey. Prey do not move like death itself. Prey do not speak the warrior tongue. What are you?" Sarah walked toward him slowly, her crew still frozen in amazement behind her. "I am Captain Sarah Chun of the Earth Defense Force on detached assignment to the Merchant Marine. I'm also a graduate of the Terran Special Operations Command, with specialization in zero-gravity combat and xenobiology. But most importantly, I am human." She stopped just outside the alien's personal space, her presence somehow more intimidating than his 8-foot frame. "Your species made an error in classification. Humans are not prey animals. We are persistence hunters. We are tool users. We are problem solvers. And when threatened, we become something your kind has never encountered before." The Vorthak's breathing apparatus wheezed as he processed this information. What are you when threatened?" Sarah's smile was cold and predatory, containing none of the warmth her crew had seen during their peaceful trading missions. "We become the reason other species check their locks at night. We become the shadow that follows you through dark corridors. We become the thing that hunts the hunters." She gestured toward the airlock with her rifle barrel. "Go, deliver your message. And Warrior Kreshtak? Tell your commander that this human was merely stretching her arms. Tell him what happens when we actually try." The alien needed no further encouragement. He fled through the airlock as if the depths of space itself were chasing him, leaving behind 6 dead, squad mates and a merchant crew that would never look at their captain the same way again. As the Vorthak shuttle departed, Sarah began the methodical process of checking each fallen enemy for signs of life, her weapon ready for any surprises. Her crew gradually emerged from their shock-induced paralysis, staring at the carnage surrounding them. "Captain," whispered First Officer Martinez, his voice barely audible, "how did you—" They were supposed to be the apex predators of this sector." Sarah ejected the spent magazine from her rifle and loaded a fresh one with practiced efficiency. "Miguel, there's something you need to understand about human history. For millions of years, our ancestors were hunted by creatures bigger, stronger, and faster than us. Saber-toothed cats, cave bears, dire wolves. Everything on our planet tried to kill us." She holstered the rifle and began gathering intelligence items from the Vorthak bodies. "But we survived. We adapted. We learned to think 3 moves ahead, to use tools, to coordinate, to never give up. The predators that hunted us are all extinct now. We're still here. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the ship's xenobiologist, found her voice. But Sarah, your reflexes, your accuracy? That wasn't just human baseline performance. No, it wasn't, Sarah agreed, pulling data chips from the alien warrior's armor. The Earth Defense Force spent decades studying every known alien species before we made official contact. We knew about the Vorthak before they knew about us. We trained specifically for this encounter. She stood and faced her crew, her expression say. 3 days after the incident aboard the Harmony's Edge, the Vorthak High Fleet assembled in the shadow of their fortress world, Kethmoran. The massive dreadnoughts floated in perfect formation, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent threat displays. Fleet Commander Vorthash stood in the primary battle chamber of his flagship, studying holographic displays that showed the scattered remains of his boarding party, the surviving warrior. Kreshtak knelt before his commander with his head bowed in the traditional posture of failure. His entire body still trembled from the encounter, and fear pheromones leaked continuously from his scent glands. Around the chamber, other high-ranking Vorthak officers watched with varying degrees of disgust and curiosity. "Explain again," Vorthash commanded, his voice carrying the authority of 3 centuries of conquest. How a single prey animal eliminated 6 elite warriors without sustaining injury. Kreshtak's mandibles clicked nervously. "Commander, she moved like liquid death. Our biological scanners indicated standard prey animal reflexes, but she struck faster than our nervous systems could track. The human female used weapons we did not detect during boarding inspection." "Impossible," growled War Leader Thexanol, his scarred carapace evidence of countless battles. "Our scanning technology can detect metal traces in concentrations as small as parts per billion." "No weapon could escape detection." "The weapons were disguised," Kreshtak insisted. Her sidearm appeared to be a communication device. The assault rifle was integrated into her environmental suit's support structure. "But Commander, the weapons were not the true threat." Vorthash leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Explain." "The human demonstrated tactical awareness beyond our understanding. She spoke perfect military cant, knew our individual designations, understood our formation protocols. She eliminated my squad mates by predicting their movements before they made them." "And Commander." Kreshtak's voice dropped to a whisper. She claimed this was merely stretching her arms. Silence filled the battle chamber as the implications sank in. The Vorthak had built their empire on the principle of overwhelming biological superiority. Their warriors were bred for combat, enhanced with cybernetic implants and trained from hatching in the arts of war. The concept that a supposedly inferior species could neutralize their elite forces so easily challenged everything they understood about the natural order. "Show me the tactical recordings," Vorthash ordered. The chamber's central holographic display activated, showing the encounter from Kreshtak's helmet camera. The assembled officers watched in stunned silence as Captain Sarah Chun moved with fluid precision, eliminating targets with an economy of motion that spoke of perfect training and absolute confidence. "Pause there," commanded Sub-Leader Vexthara, pointing at the moment when Sarah drew her sidearm. "Replay at 1/4 speed." Even slowed down, the human's draw stroke was a blur of coordinated muscle movements. Her hand moved to the weapon, cleared the holster, acquired the target, and fired in a single continuous motion that took less than half a second to complete. "Her muscle fibers must be artificially enhanced," suggested biotechnician Korvextol. "No natural organism can achieve such response times." "Negative," Vorthash replied, studying the readouts. "Our biological scanners detected no artificial enhancements, no cybernetic implants, no gene modifications. What we are observing is baseline human performance enhanced by training." The implications of this statement created an uncomfortable tension in the chamber. If humans could achieve such capabilities through training alone, what did that suggest about their potential as warriors? What did it mean for the Vorthik Empire's position as the galaxy's dominant military force? Perhaps this individual is an anomaly, suggested Dexenol. One exceptional specimen does not represent an entire species. This hope was shattered when communications specialist Ythmora approached the command platform with obvious distress. Fleet Commander, we are receiving intelligence reports from across the sector. The humans have revealed themselves to be more than simple traders. Elaborate. 3 Krillian pirate fleets attempted to raid human cargo vessels in the past 2 days. All 3 fleets were completely destroyed. The humans left 1 survivor from each fleet to carry warnings, exactly as their captain did with warrior Kreshtak. Vorthash felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. Show me these reports. The holographic display shifted to show 3 separate engagement zones. In each case, human merchant vessels had been approached by numerically superior pirate forces and had responded with devastating efficiency. The tactical recordings provided by the surviving pirates showed humans emerging from seemingly peaceful trading ships to deploy military-grade weaponry with professional precision. The Krillians report that human vessels carry concealed weapon systems that can penetrate their armor at ranges previously thought impossible. Their warriors demonstrate coordination and tactical awareness that surpasses our own elite units. And in each case, the humans claimed they were simply conducting defensive operations. More disturbing information continued to pour in from across the sector. A hegemony patrol that had attempted to collect tribute from human colonists had been systematically eliminated by what appeared to be farmers, wielding crude projectile weapons. A Sarkonian slavers guild had lost an entire capture fleet to human freighter crews who fought with a savagery that defied their supposedly civilized nature. Fleet Commander, Ythmora continued with growing alarm, we have identified a pattern. Every human vessel we encounter carries military personnel disguised as civilians. They possess detailed intelligence about our tactical doctrines, our weapons capabilities, and our biological weaknesses. They are not random explorers entering our territory. They are conducting a systematic intelligence-gathering operation. The revelation hit the command chamber like a physical blow. The Vorthak had assumed they were dealing with primitive traders seeking to establish commercial relationships. Instead, they faced a species that had been studying them, learning their weaknesses and preparing for inevitable confrontation. Sir, added intelligence analyst Drexpoth, we have discovered that humans possess something we have never encountered before in a supposed prey species. They share tactical information across their entire fleet through instantaneous communication networks. Every engagement, every tactical victory, every lesson learned by one human vessel is immediately transmitted to all others. Vorthash processed this information with growing unease. You are suggesting that these humans learn from each combat encounter and adapt their tactics in real time. Precisely, Fleet Commander. They demonstrate what our xenobiologists term collective tactical evolution. Each human force that encounters our warriors becomes more effective at defeating future Vorthak forces. They are using us to train themselves. The strategic implications were staggering. The Vorthak Empire had maintained dominance by suppressing information about their capabilities, ensuring that no species could develop effective countermeasures. But humans appeared to be treating every encounter as a learning opportunity, systematically building a database of Vorthak weaknesses that made them more dangerous with each engagement. There is more, Commander, Drexpoth continued. Our intelligence sources in neutral space report that humans have been discreetly gathering information about every major military power in this sector. The Vorthak Empire, the Hegemony Collective, the Sarkonian territories, even the Zelani Federation's defensive capabilities. They appeared to be preparing for conflicts with all of us simultaneously. Sub-Leader Vexthara stepped forward, her voice tight with concern. Fleet Commander, if these humans possess such capabilities, why have they revealed themselves now? Why not remain hidden until they were ready to strike? The answer came from an unexpected source. Kreshtak, who had remained silent since giving his initial report, spoke up from his kneeling position. Permission to speak, Commander? Granted. The human captain told me that her mission was to establish humanity's position in the galactic hierarchy. She said they knew someone would test them eventually, and they wanted to control when and how that test occurred. Sir, I believe we were chosen to serve as their demonstration. The words hung in the air like an execution notice. The mighty Vorthok Empire, terror of known space, had been selected as a teaching tool by a species they had never heard of 3 months ago. The pride that had sustained their civilization for centuries crumbled under the weight of this revelation. "Fleet Commander?" came another voice from the communications station. "We are receiving a transmission from the human vessel. Captain Chien is requesting permission to open diplomatic channels." Vorthash felt his world shifting beneath him. "Put her through." The holographic display shimmered and resolved into the image of Captain Sarah Chun. Standing on the bridge of the Harmony's edge, she appeared calm and professional, showing no signs of stress despite having single-handedly eliminated an elite Vorthak boarding party 3 days earlier. "Fleet Commander Vorthash," she said, her pronunciation of his name perfect in every syllable. "I am Captain Sarah Chun of Earth Defense Force, temporarily assigned to the Merchant Marine. I believe we need to talk." "Human," Vorthash replied, struggling to maintain his authority in the face. 6 months after the Kefmoran Accords established humanity as a recognized power in the Outer Rim, Captain Sarah Chun found herself once again standing in a cargo bay facing hostile alien forces. This time, however, the situation was significantly different. Instead of representing Earth's tentative first steps into galactic commerce, she now commanded the UES Peacekeeper, humanity's first official diplomatic vessel. And the aliens before her had specifically requested her presence. The Hegemony, Collective's war form, stood in perfect formation, their cybernetic enhancements gleaming under the ship's lights. Unlike the Vorthak's biological supremacy, the Hegemony had chosen technological augmentation as their path to dominance. Each warrior stood 7 feet tall, their organic components barely visible beneath layers of armor plating and weapon systems. Red optical sensors tracked Sarah's every movement as she approached their formation. Supreme War Coordinator Nexus Prime stepped forward, his voice emerging from multiple speakers embedded in his torso. "Captain Chun of the Human Hegemony, we meet at last. Your reputation has spread throughout the sector like a virus in our data networks." Sarah's expression remained neutral, though she noted the deliberate mislabeling of humanity's government. "War Coordinator, I appreciate your willingness to meet. However, Earth operates under a democratic confederation, not a hegemony. I trust this was simply a translation error." Perhaps," Nexus Prime replied, the electronic harmonics of his voice suggesting amusement. "We find it difficult to believe that a species capable of such military efficiency could function under decentralized leadership. Surely there must be a supreme military commander directing your expansion." Behind Sarah, her diplomatic team maintained their positions near the conference table that had been set up in the center of the bay. Unlike her previous encounters, this meeting had been arranged through proper channels, with both sides agreeing to discuss territorial boundaries and trade agreements. The Hegemony Collective controlled 12 star systems rich in rare minerals that Earth needed for advanced technology, while humanity possessed agricultural techniques that could solve the Collective's chronic food shortages. "Our military operates under civilian authority," Sarah explained patiently. "Each ship captain has tactical autonomy within strategic guidelines established by our elected government. It's a system that has served us well for several centuries." War Coordinator Grix 7, whose form was even more heavily modified than his superiors, interjected with obvious skepticism. "Impossible. Decentralized command structures create tactical inefficiencies that any competent enemy could exploit. Your species must possess some form of hierarchical military authority to achieve the victories we have observed." Sarah gestured toward the conference table. "Perhaps we could discuss these philosophical differences in a more comfortable setting. I believe both our peoples could benefit from increased understanding." As the group moved toward the negotiating area, Sarah's enhanced hearing picked up the subvocal communication occurring between the Hegemony representatives. Their cybernetic implants allowed near-instantaneous data sharing, and they were analyzing her every word and gesture for tactical significance. What they didn't realize was that human intelligence services had been monitoring their communication protocols for months, and Sarah's earpiece was providing real-time translations of their supposedly private discussions. Primary assessment. Human shows no signs of cybernetic enhancement yet demonstrates awareness beyond baseline organic capabilities. Nexus Prime transmitted to his subordinates. Secondary assessment. Diplomatic overtures may be deception to mask military intelligence gathering. Tertiary assessment. Request immediate tactical analysis of human combat capabilities. Sarah suppressed a smile as she took her seat at the conference table. The hegemony's assumption that enhanced performance required technological augmentation was exactly the kind of thinking that had allowed humanity to surprise every species they had encountered. Earth's military doctrine emphasized training, adaptability, and creative problem-solving over technological dependence. War Coordinator, she began formally. Humanity seeks to establish mutually beneficial trade relationships with the Hegemony Collective. We can offer advanced agricultural biotechnology, medical research, and cultural exchange programs. In return, we would like to negotiate access to the rare earth minerals found in your core systems. Nexus Prime leaned back in his chair, which adjusted automatically to accommodate his extensive mechanical modifications. Captain Chin, before we discuss trade agreements, the Collective requires clarification regarding human military capabilities. Our intelligence networks have recorded unusual combat performances by your species. I'm not sure I understand your concern. 6 months ago, you single-handedly eliminated a Vorthic elite boarding party. 2 months ago, a human agricultural colony repelled a Sarkonian slaving expedition using farming equipment modified for combat. 3 weeks ago, a human exploration team neutralized a Krillian pirate base with improvised explosives created from mining supplies. The pattern suggests military preparation that contradicts your claims of peaceful intent. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. War Coordinator, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about human nature. We are not a military species in the sense that you might understand the term. We are an adaptive species. Elaborate. Humans evolved as persistence hunters and problem solvers. When faced with threats, we don't necessarily fight them directly. We study them, understand their weaknesses, and develop solutions. Sometimes those solutions involve combat, but more often they involve avoiding conflict entirely. Through superior planning, Grix 7s. Optical senses focused intently on. Sarah, yet your combat effectiveness exceeds that of dedicated warrior species. How do you explain this paradox? Sarah's expression became more serious. Because, War Coordinator, humans have spent our entire evolutionary history being hunted by creatures bigger, stronger, and faster than us. We survived not through superior firepower, but through superior tactics. We learned to use tools, coordinate group efforts, and think several moves ahead of our opponents. She gestured to include her entire diplomatic team. Every human in this room has received basic combat training, not because we are warlike, but because our history has taught us that peaceful intentions mean nothing if you cannot defend yourself when diplomacy fails. The hegemony representatives exchanged rapid data bursts, processing this information through their collective intelligence networks. After several moments, Nexus Prime spoke again. Captain, our analysis suggests that human tactical doctrines emphasize preparation and adaptability over technological superiority. This is unusual among sapient species. Most civilizations achieve dominance through either biological enhancement or technological augmentation. And both approaches have their merits, Sarah acknowledged. However, humans have learned that over-specialization can become a weakness. The Vorthak bred themselves for individual combat superiority, but struggled to adapt when faced with unconventional tactics. The Sarkonians invested heavily in slaving technology, but were unprepared for organized resistance from their intended victims. War Coordinator Vex 9, who had remained silent throughout the discussion, suddenly activated his combat sensors and focused them on Sarah. Captain Chung, our tactical analysis indicates that you are carrying concealed weapons despite this being a diplomatic meeting. The tension in the room spiked immediately. Sarah's team remained motionless, but their positioning shifted subtly to provide mutual support and clear fields of fire. The hegemony representatives activated their defensive systems, energy fields shimmering around their positions. "You are correct," Sarah replied calmly. "I am carrying a sidearm, 3 combat knives, and various other defensive tools. I assume your warriors are similarly equipped despite the diplomatic nature of our meeting. Our weapons are integral to our cybernetic systems," Nexus Prime explained. "They cannot be removed without major surgical procedures. Your weapons represent a conscious choice to bring lethal force to a peaceful negotiation." Sarah's smile was patient but pointed. "War Coordinator, in the 6 months since our first contact with galactic civilization, humans have been attacked, threatened, or tested by every major power in this sector. We have learned that diplomatic meetings often serve as pretexts for shows of force or outright aggression. My weapons represent insurance against misunderstandings. And if we were to interpret your preparations as hostile intent, then you would be making the same mistake the Vorthek made," Sarah replied. "You would be assuming that defensive preparations indicate offensive intentions. Humans prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. It's kept us alive for millions of years." Grix 7's vocal processors emitted what might have been electronic laughter. "Captain, you present an interesting paradox. Your species demonstrates superior tactical capabilities while claiming peaceful intentions. How do we distinguish between genuine diplomatic overtures and military deception?" "By judging our actions rather than our capabilities," Sarah answered. "In 6 months of contact with galactic civilization, humans have never initiated hostilities. We have responded to threats, yes. We have defended ourselves when